My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's Chocolate Week.
Oh,
Don't make me run. I'm full of chocolate.
The land of chocolate.
So we both opened up with an accent this week. For anyone who doesn't watch The Simpsons, you think that was incredibly racist. For everyone else, you know it's Uda. Anyway, so Chocolate Week. Interesting week this week.
Yes.
A fascinating week. And we begin.
Yes.
We have to begin with something we haven't really mentioned a lot of this series, which is that Dan and Julia's outfit game today was absolutely on point.
I loved it. I loved how Dan did a little homage to what would be the showstopper.
He did indeed.
With his foresty top.
He had his foresty top.
Foresty shirt.
And Julia was going, the way that I sort of viewed it with the stripes and the pinstripe in particular, Julia was going for a lighter, happier version of Beetlejuice. Which was awesome and amazing. I absolutely loved it.
Still Beetlejuice.
So we start about Chocolate Week, and what I really loved about that little back and forth too was, am I the only person who finds it quite believable that Dan is paid in chocolate?
No, you're not. I think that is possibly one of your options in currency in Canada.
Well, especially for Dan. I mean, look, if anyone was going to be paid in food, it would make sense that is how Dan Levy's paid.
He's like, oh, what have you got to offer? I'll take the chocolate. Yes, thank you.
Look, I've got Schitt's Creek over here. That pays me the money.
I'm getting the gold bullion.
I'm here for the food.
Yes.
I'm here for food. Now,
he's going to inherit the Levy fortune, I presume.
Exactly. There's lots of money in the Levy fortune.
Lots of money in A Mighty Wind.
Although it gets converted from Canadian and that drops, the currency rate drops. Anyway, when they talked about practicing,
yes,
there's only one person we can start with. Bum ba dum ba dum. Bum ba dum ba dum 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 ba dum dum dum. Inspector Gadget. So Gadget, Meng Ling, talked about the fact that I've been practicing this week and I've been finding chocolate on my shirt, and then I went to bed and I looked at my pillow and went, what's that stain? Oh, it's chocolate. First of all, never assume that a stain in the bedroom is chocolate.
Particularly a brown one.
Never. Secondly...
And you've got animals in the house.
Secondly, and far more importantly, has she missed the concept that they were supposed to bake with it?
No.
She's trying to wear it.
I think she was just... Like, she was trying to become one with the chocolate. Like, she's like, okay, this week is chocolate week. I need to embody the chocolate. So she was just melting it down and, like, did a chocolate ritual, painted herself up. She
thought it was going to resemble, again, another Simpsons reference, she thought it was going to resemble the episode where Apu sends himself to Manjula, coated in chocolate. There's a nut in my eye. So we started this week with a chocolate tart.
Yes.
Now...
Which, could be another one of my nicknames.
It was cheerful, wasn't it?
I'm a really, a cheerful tart, but I'm also, a bit of a chocolate tart as well.
You are. You're a bit of a bandit for good chocolate. So, Dan started by begging for food. He didn't even get into the challenge this week. He's like, you only have to make one tart per person, but... if you happen to make some extras that I can have, that would be really good. So he's not even letting them start the bake anymore. He's like, you only have to make one.
No.
But I'm going beyond the producers and saying, if you want to make me extras...
just go for it.
I'm good.
Feel free.
I'm good with that.
Knock yourselves out.
Now, the thing they clarified with this was that it had to be tempered chocolate.
Yes.
Which was good, because it allowed us to have... the traditional whinge that we get every year of people going, I'm not really sure how to temper chocolate. I don't know if I can temper chocolate. You're on Bake Off.
But I like what Timothy did. And he's like, I don't know if this is tempering chocolate. Actually, I do.
Timothy started to do the rhetoric and then went, no, fuck it. I'm a baker. I know how to do this. Bruno also did something that I have never seen before. Bruno went with the judge's version of the jinx.
Like, this is my week.
Because Bruno's like, I've been working with chocolate since I was 15. This is the week that I can judge. And I'm like, Bruno, no, you might get voted. Oh, hang on a minute, you're a judge.
No, I like to think he's got like a mate called Chocolate that he's been working with since he was 15.
But I like the idea that Rochelle turns around at the end of the episode and goes, Bruno, I didn't really like you judging this week. You're off.
Yeah, everyone else can stay. Timothy, you were going to be out, but I'm going to have you as my next judge.
Yeah, you're now a judge. Bruno, you're gone. It's like, shouldn't have done that.
Do you think he's trying to do like a bit of a Paul Hollywood? You know how he's like, oh, Paul Hollywood, he's, bread week's his week because he's really into the baking of bread and stuff. And then, Bruno's like, I want to be known as Mr. Chocolate.
He didn't call himself Mr. Chocolate, but I think he missed a trick. I think he missed a trick.
Yeah.
He should have called himself Mr. Chocolate.
He's now called Mr. Chocolate as far as I'm concerned.
But I've got a bit of a sneaking suspicion because next week is French week. And I've got a bit of a feeling that next week is going to definitely be the Bruno week.
Le Bruno week, I think you'll find.
Le Bruno. As we've established, our ability to speak French,
and
much
Dutch.
like Megan the other day, is to add the word la to everything.
It's like that sunscreen, remember? Le Tan.
Le Tan, which was French style, which is horrible.
Hilarious because it's like Le Tan and it's a sunscreen. So
To stop you getting burned.
To stop you from getting a tan.
That's right, and that of course is like the small treat that is in Australia for children at schools, with like its biscuits and cruel crackers in Canada, and a little cheesy dip, and it's called Le Snack. Nothing has ever been less la in history.
Do you think they're trying? Like it's like a fondue, but with the crackers.
And it's the company that makes it is Uncle Toby's, but in the ad they go really overboard and they go, and it's good because it's made by Uncle Toby's. And again, never has the word la been less appropriate. So I think next week we'll get lots of appropriate la's as opposed to this week where, who knows. So now. We
There'll
also
be
had
so much la's, it'll be like a Eurovision song.
La la la.
And then you'll have Cliff Richard
complaining that he didn't win.
He didn't win, yeah.
On the plus side, though, Rochelle can stay because Australia are part of Eurovision.
We are.
So everyone in the next montage, there were lots of montages, everyone tried to convince us that they loved chocolate. Now, I don't think you need a montage.
No.
Is that something where we need to go around to everyone and go, who here likes chocolate? That would be like saying, who's baked before? Anyone?
Well, it is the one sticking point with my niece. Like, she's my mini-me, except she's not a big chocolate fan. Like, I got her a Kinder Surprise, and she's just like, you eat the chocolate, I'm having the toy.
Well, I'm not a massive chocoholic, but I like chocolate. Like, I won't necessarily go out of my way to eat a lot of it. I like dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate. Hint, hint for anybody out there who might be putting together a care package coming from Canada. Hey, Jocelyn, how you going? But
he literally waved them.
I waved the microphone. That is true.
Tonight.
It's 10 minutes to midnight when we're recording, so spoiler alert, everybody. We're going over 2 days for this record. That's how big it is.
Chocolate week.
Now, we started with Andre, and we started with Andre making what was a sailing-inspired chocolate tart.
Silhouette.
Knowing a little bit about Andre, that makes perfect sense. I'm not going to go into it yet because I really hope. Thank you, Enya. Enya's in the background right now. I'm hopeful eventually to get to talk to Andre on the podcast, but I can say to people that I know that he's sailed to Australia before. So that's one bit of information I can give you. He made this chocolate tart. It was had mascarpone in it. It also had passion fruit. And he decided to do bitter and sweet chocolates to
and the sour with the passion.
Yeah, to try to balance
on the tart.
He wanted to balance out the flavour of the passion fruit with it.
Yeah.
And he also said
Inspired.
in a very foreboding manner at the start. He said, "Now you can't really tell if you've burnt it or not. You've got to be very careful with this. So you're likely to burn it. So you've got to just do it by time and hope."
You bloody invoked it, didn't you? There,
However,
Andre,
as we'll come back to a bit later on, while he did that, he then Andre'd it. So, Sachin, now I'll let you take this one.
Okay, I love it. One, because he's bringing the goddess Lakshmi in, who's a gorgeous Hindu goddess. I think she's also worshipped in some Buddhist and like Nepalese kind of areas as well. Goddess, she's Vishnu's wife, and I just loved it how he's like, yep, I'm bringing Lakshmi in because she's the goddess of fortune and stuff, so I'll do a little ode to her in the tart. And I'm like, yes, that's what you need to do. Just more gods in the bake-off tent, you know?
And he made a really awesome lotus flower too.
It was so pretty.
It was well tempered as well.
And the little bit of pink on the top and the gold, because we know...
There was lots of gold.
You know,
lots of gold. There's gold everywhere. So much gold.
Gorgeous Sachin.
Again, I want to know who is hoarding the gold, who is bringing it in, who is supplying it.
Well, obviously Dan, because he's paid in gold bullions in Schitt's Creek. So
he paid in gold bullions for Schitt's Creek.
Chocolate here.
And paid in chocolate here. Combine the two. You're right. Dan Levy is smuggling in gold leaf.
Yes.
Has to be.
He's just like, oh, look, this is just the scraps from my
He's supplementing the Levy
treasury.
fortune. He's supplementing the Levy fortune.
He's like Scrooge McDuck.
That's exactly where I was going. He's diving into fields of gold leaf.
He's singing, life is like a hurricane here in Schitt's Creek.
So... Also, at this point, speaking of Dan, now the Ode to Lakshmi had mocha and almond in there.
Yum.
Dan also came over and went, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's crumbled, like a crumbled wafers thing." And he's like, "Can I have some?" And he ate it. And he's like, "Why isn't this a cereal?" And then instantly went, "Well, it's really sugary, so that's probably why it's not a cereal."
I wonder if you guys have Cocoa Pops, like they're like rice. Bubbles, but with...
Well, Captain Crunch is not too far off that.
Oh, is it?
Not too far off
But they don't have the Cocoa Pop monkey.
No, they don't, but to be fair,
Cocoa
he's just
Pops,
a...
chocolate milkshake only crunchy.
Yeah.
I still have those on the odd occasion, because I'm 5,
You
really.
are. Now, Megan.
And do you guys, make chocolate crackles?
They can't respond.
Because if you don't, you need to make chocolate crackles. They are so good.
If you don't make chocolate crackles, look them up.
Standard
and Lamingtons. I've actually passed this.
way.
I've actually passed this on to a few bakers from Canadian Bake Off and suggested they make a Lamington. So hopefully that happens soon. But chocolate crackles is the next thing.
Chocolate crackles now.
There you go. Well, I'm not making them now. It's almost midnight. So
Tomorrow.
More importantly,
Today.
Megan. Okay.
Yes.
So Megan demonstrated something in this first challenge, which was that she's learned.
Yes.
She blind baked her pastry.
Her grandma's on the phone going, Megan, what are you doing? You're out of the family. I'm disowning you. You blind baker pie. You're out.
Apparently her grandma is from the south of America.
Yes.
And lives on a hick farm.
Yeah.
I would have assumed instead that her grandmother was probably into the first wave of goth music. Robert Smith, The Cure.
Yes,
you know,
she was around.
Love Cats was big.
Depeche Mode. She was just there.
Meanwhile,
Megan, I've hexed you. You're out of the family.
That's better. That's far more accurate. Meanwhile, back to Gadget. Gadget was talking to Dan, again, part of the greatest double act now in the history of television, in my mind. And Dan asked a very simple question, which he probably regrets. He goes, "So we're on track then?" And she paused and went, "We'll see." And then they said to her about, because she was making a Thai tea and toffee tart. There's a lot of teas in that. And
apparently,
speaking of that, though, they said to Meng Ling about liking tea, and she goes,
like, "Do you like tea, Meng Ling?"
You called her Emma.
Oh, Julia.
Yes. If you're playing a drinking game at home, if every time Kristie says the wrong name, take a shot. There you go.
Drink responsibly. If you can.
So Meng Ling admitted that she doesn't drink tea, and then the reason why was great. She goes, "It's making tea is a hassle. You have to boil the water." But she didn't have any other points. Now I'm thinking, she's on Bake Off. She's making elaborate bakes. She's baking 7 cakes a year for her dog.
I know someone who couldn't make tea and they couldn't do instant noodles and stuff. This lovely, extremely intelligent guy that came to our school in the last year from in year 12. He came from China, only child, I think mum and dad were very wealthy over in China, so he hasn't had to wipe his own ass or anything. But mum and dad flew back to China. And he basically kept calling us to go around to his house to do things. 1, to show him how to use a kettle.
But
2, to show him where to buy milk from.
But he wasn't baking grandiose
that's what I mean.
designs. And this is the point. Meng Ling is baking at least 7 cakes a year for her dog. We know this. We can't guarantee she's making anything else. But we know she makes 7 cakes a year for a dog.
He obviously doesn't like souffles.
Now, obviously, we'll get to that in a minute too. But she can do that.
Yeah.
But boiling the kettle for tea is a step too far.
Obviously, Nimbus doesn't like tea. He's a coffee drinker.
But you've got to boil the kettle for that too. And the step that seems to be the problem is the boiling. Machines. But the step that seems to be the problem for Meng Ling is boiling water. Why don't you drink iced tea? Maybe freezing the water is just as hard. So, Timothy. Let's go to Timothy.
Yes.
So, Timothy was making an Earl Grey and lemon tart with a dark chocolate crust. And he said the problem is, he goes, I don't want the Earl Grey to overpower it, but I also want them to go, there's Earl Grey in there. Timothy, they did neither. So, unfortunately, it didn't go very well. Now, I'd love to stay talking about the Earl Grey and lemon. I really would. But Megan made spongy toffee.
She did, and oh my God.
I couldn't have given a crap about anything else in this challenge.
Honeycomb looks so
the
good.
moment she made that, I just wanted it.
I wanted a face plant in it. Like
so
open mouth, tongue out.
That is one of the best things I've seen.
Into the honeycomb.
That was one of the best things I've seen. And watching it just like rise and bubble up. Oh boy. Now, Andre at this point looks at it and goes, I think I burnt my case, but I can't tell if I burnt the case. And then he just looks around the pavilion and goes, yeah, let's go make it again.
Yep.
And starts again. Everyone else is panicking. They're rushed. And
you're going on.
And you came back.
I don't know the words really.
There's no words to Enya. There's lots of humming. And Anyway, so Meng Ling, we cut back to Gadget, who's just walking around. And now this sentence impressed me simply because I couldn't tell if she was talking about the bake she was doing or just in general. She went, I have a lot going on. Now, couldn't tell if that was this bake because there was nothing in front of her at the time.
Yes.
Or if she's just talking in general.
I just have a lot going on.
I'm busy.
You know, Dan and I are pitching to the networks.
I'm keeping an eye on
podcast.
I'm keeping an eye on where Penny is.
I'm learning how to make tea.
I'm keeping an eye on Brain, but Brain is a bit busy because he's making a second pastry case. And Penny's just made toffee. So they're running around, they're getting closer and closer to the end, and as they get to the very end of the challenge, Dan and Julia both walk over to the bench, and Julia, not Dan, points at Megan's bench with the bits of the shards on them and goes, are these? And they don't even finish the sentence. And Megan, who is flat out doing a million things, goes, yes, extras, take them. And they both just descend.
What they need is like going on the God and Goddess thing. So they just need little Dan and Julia shrines at the end of the bench where you just leave the offerings, the offcuts, just go over there.
I've got a better idea. We always complain that when we lose bakers that we don't really want to see them ever leave.
Yeah.
I think that the person who gets eliminated the week before should just walk around the pavilion with a tea trolley and gather up the scraps.
Yes.
And then just feeds the scraps on the tea trolley as they go around. That way we get to see them again. I mean, we would have got, for example, in the first season, we wouldn't have lost Pierre after week 1, and he could have played the guitar while wheeling around the trolley.
What about like a sushi train in the centre of the thing where
I love it.
Where
a scrap sushi train.
Scrap sushi train. And not only can Dan and Julie go, but the other bakers can just like have a little nibble.
Well, Adriano Zumbo in Australia at one point did that with his desserts. He had a sushi train for Zumbo.
Probably what sent him into receivership.
Well, it was because that was the first shop they closed. Was the sushi train in Sydney.
We can't afford the coal.
Now, again, thing is, people overseas, we shouldn't really talk about Adriano Zumbo going into receivership because everyone overseas just thinks he's successful.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's completely
he's
successful.
Greatly successful and hasn't put all of his shops into receivership. That didn't happen.
No.
Look, in all honesty, amazingly skilled guy, but probably overreached with the amount of shops he opened up. He opened about 15 million at once.
And he was competing, like, his specialty is macarons, right?
He makes amazing macarons.
Now, when McDonald's starts selling macarons...
Yeah, and your price point. Price point's going to kill you.
Yeah.
But they are amazing macarons, I will say that. And his book is really good, but I've still never made successful macarons from it. Okay. Andre. They said everything was well-tempered.
Yeah.
Although I wrote Andre well-tempered. I'm pretty sure I meant the chocolate. It could just be Andre. Because, like, even when Andre was panicking, he was like, well, everything seems to be turning badly. Oh, well, and just kept going.
He has sailed to Australia, so he must just be cool under fucking pressure.
They said that everything was great. It's an Andre. And the funniest part was nobody was more surprised with his feedback than Andre, who was looking going, really?
Yeah.
Like, I literally made that crust about 5 minutes ago and rushed everything. And they're just like, it's great. Your bake quality is excellent. You've tempered everything perfectly. That's amazing. And Andre's like, what?
Well, we know that he's probably able to re-stump a house and bake.
In fact, when the pavilion starts sagging, when it was what we didn't get to see in that last challenge, was the pavilion started sagging in the rain. And the reason why Andre may have overbaked his cake a little bit is he was busy outside re-stumping the pavilion.
Just re-stumping the pavilion,
as he does. Now, Megan, they said that the shell was slightly over, but the layering was incredible and the flavour was brilliant.
Nice chocolate flavour there.
Now, they said the Sachin,
chocolate week.
The lotus was really well tempered, and that the ganache was absolutely delicious.
And as I said, it was elegant.
It was very elegant. Timothy.
It was a tart fit for a goddess. Kind of like me.
Was indeed. Yes, there you go. You are a tart fit for a goddess. Timothy, they said, it looked well tempered. It was baked really well. However, what they said was, and they didn't say it was non-existent, they said the Earl Grey was too subtle, which is code for, where's my Earl Grey?
It's like, this tea's weaker than a Dilmah you get at McDonald's. Seriously, Dilmah tea sucks balls. Why do you fucking make it? How did Kamal come to be, like, endorsing that?
And in Canada, you got no clue what we mean by that.
No,
so chocolate,
YouTube it.
They also said that his chocolate ganache was far too firm. Which is code for, you overbaked this.
Yeah.
Mingling, they said her piping skills were exceptional. The tea was very well used. It was very rich. The ganache was very rich, and they absolutely loved it, which did lead to a moment where they cut to Mingling after the challenge where she was clapping, which she always does when something goes well. She was clapping, going, they liked my baby. They liked my chocolate tart baby.
I think she's missing her dog a little too much.
I think Nimbus is being missed.
Do you think when you go to Mengling's house and she's like, oh, do you want a tea or a coffee? And you go, oh, I'd like a tea, thanks. She just whips up a batch of, like, tea-flavoured, like, brownies or something? Like, because, no. Boiling the water's too hard.
I've worked it out.
What?
Nimbus makes the tea.
Oh.
Nimbus boils the kettle. Because we've said Nimbus at home is brain. So Nimbus boils the kettle. That's why Mingling couldn't do it. I've got it sorted.
Yep.
We've got this worked out. Okay.
We do.
Now, speaking of working things out, the technical, they send them outside and they go, it's a staggered start, and they send everybody but Mingling out, who first of all looks around and goes, am I first?
You'd hope so.
I like the idea that they sent everyone out and we're going to make them, like, use a campfire outside, and Mingling was being left inside as punishment. Or they didn't trust her with fire. They didn't trust her
with a live flame. She was going to get, like, a hibachi grill on the inside.
The second they went, this is a staggered start. If you've watched enough Bake Off, I just looked at Kristie and I went,
souffle.
It's a chocolate souffle.
Yes.
Bingo. Chocolate souffle. Now,
good call.
Now, chocolate souffles. Now, souffle in particular with Australian Bake Off. Souffle was in the grand final.
It was.
It was the grand final bake. Which did feature
3 people.
Which did feature the moment of the person who ended up winning that series, Olivia, botching it and having the confidence to, a bit like Andre, go, you know what?
Fuck it.
Redoing it and remade it from scratch and won.
Unlike Mingling, who's like, oh, what's this string for?
So let's get to Mingling. So Gadget starts reading the instructions and goes, oh my God, what? At which point Dan goes, I actually need to read these to people. So Dan reads out, and these are I actually wrote them down word for word. Here are the instructions. Make a chocolate pastry cream.
Yep.
Make a meringue. Make a souffle. That's it. That's the total of it. So Mingling is just looking at it going, I've never made one of these. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Oh my God, what is this? Sachin comes in and his attitude was, I'm just going to make the individual elements and
put them together.
Hope it works. Now,
I mean, he had Lakshmi on his side.
He did.
Like,
Timothy came in. And he looked, first of all, confused and then heartbroken. And it was great because Tim looked at the recipe and went, now it says to make a chocolate pastry cream. I just don't know what to do with it. And then they brought Megan in. They told her, and Megan's feedback was, yay, souffle. I've never made one. I've never eaten one. I'm on the verge of crying. Now, I mean, with Megan, though, she's got farmer.
Yes.
So, obviously, tears are a part of the process.
You know, when the crops fail because she hasn't made the correct sacrifices to the corn gods.
So,
when the zombie chickens have flown the coop and have eaten all the, like wildlife.
Now, we do need to talk about the fact that Sachin, in this episode, it felt a lot to me like Sachin was auditioning for his own cooking show. He's very good at, like, he stands side onto the camera with whoever's there and narrates what he does. And you're expected to narrate, but Sachin, like, narrates step by step. I can only assume that he's going for what his show is going to be, which I believe, I've sort of heard from someone at CBC on the side here, it's going to be called Sachin the Kitchen. So,
Sachin the Kitchen.
So Sachin the Kitchen coming soon to CBC and to fine ether everywhere. But he narrates, and he's really upped it to this week.
He is. He's very eloquent, and he's very, you know, just like very media savvy.
He's very media savvy. He's like, Sachin the Kitchen. We'll be back right after this.
Yes.
Coming up this weekend, hometown hockey, where Don Cherry will go out and talk about the conspiracy theory around Saskatoon berries. So, by the way, if you watch Hockey Night in Canada, Grapes was very grapey and therefore obviously pushing his berries. Moving on. Dan came over to check on poor Timothy. And which led to Dan giving baking advice, which was right. He was correct.
Yeah, but still.
He looked in the bowl and he just went, I just feel like you're pushing the eggs around the chocolate. to which Timothy went, I know, Dan. But it sounded like he said, I know, Dad.
I know, Dad.
I know.
Maybe it's just something that Timothy does at home, and his dad's like, Timothy, you're pushing those eggs around the chocolate again.
I know, Dad.
When are you going to grow up and become, you know, like do something with your life instead of just being a chocolate egg chaser?
Now, chocolate egg chaser.
Because it makes the egg and the chocolate chase each other.
So, Andre comes in.
Catch me, I'm chocolate.
So Andre comes in.
Chocolate, I'm an egg.
You better run, egg. So Andre comes in and he looks at his watch. When they say you're going to make a souffle, he looks at his watch like, in this time?
Okay.
But then admits to everybody he's never actually made a souffle.
Whoa.
And that was a shocking moment to me of Andre's never made a souffle.
I just presumed he'd wake up and like whip one out for the fuck of it.
I'm assuming you meant a souffle.
Yeah. I do mean a souffle.
Good, just checking.
The other things, you know, I'm not one to judge.
Now, we've talked about this previously.
Sex positive podcast,
We've talked about this previously,
Whip
but
whatever you want out.
But even though Andre has
context.
even though Andre has never made a souffle before, everybody, and they showed the camera angles,
yes,
everybody stopped what they were doing, no matter what part of the process, and just looked at Andre's bench.
Yes.
Just to see what he was doing. Like Megan, she started her process, and then she just stopped and just turned complete to her right to watch Andre start the process. Yep. Just to see what he was doing. Now, this is where we got the infamous Mengling put her souffle in the oven, looks at the bench and goes, what's the string for? I've got no idea.
She's got the end of building her IKEA souffle and one part left over.
It was a very IKEA souffle, you know, where you've always got that one thing from an IKEA bit of furniture.
Oh.
And you're never quite sure how the furniture's still standing.
Yeah.
But the Flurgle is obviously missing a bolt. But you're not pulling the Flurgle apart to work out where the bolt's supposed to be.
No, it's like it's standing. It's now storing all the stuff I needed it to.
For example, I did once assemble a giant shelving rack that we've got in the kitchen. And it was only 6 months down the track that I realised I'd actually put it upside down. And I only realised that because it's supposed to have a bottom shelf, and the bottom shelf didn't fit on the bottom, but the top looked suspiciously like the bottom shelf would fit it. And I'm not taking everything off that shelf to turn it up the right way. So it took 6 months for me to work that out. That shelf's been up now for 3 years. I'm not fixing it anytime soon.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, I do. Every time I look at it, I'm like, can I be bothered to... No, I can't.
No,
it's working.
just leave it.
So that's my flurgle gurgle. It's upside down. Meng Ling, however, decided that she needed to fix it because Sachin, for Sachin the Kitchen, is explaining what you would be using the string for.
Sachin in the kitchen.
It's just Sachin the Kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Sachin the kitchen.
There you go.
Okay.
So, Sachin the Kitchen. And he explained what it was. I think it's to make a bit like a cage. And we're like, okay. So Meng Ling looks at it. It's like, that's what the string's for. And then takes her souffle out of the oven. Which Timothy is going, it'd be death for me to take my souffle out right now. Meng Ling's like, I'm taking this shit out.
What is death for Timothy is just a day in the bake-off day for Meng Ling.
There was a moment today where Dan looked at her and went, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. Dan was
we
all
are, Dan.
And
we
at this
all
moment,
are.
Dan was all of us because she pulls it out of the oven. She gets the string, puts the paper around it, tries to tie a knot, but can't really tie a knot, and goes, oh God, I'm not good at this. That's how you do it, I guess.
Pops it in the oven.
And Dan just has this look of horror on his face. Like, what did you just do?
When she pops it back in the oven, the paper's like say 4/5 around it. The string is just like there's a knot, but it's just under the cake pan.
It was like
a pool of string.
It was like what Meng Ling had decided to do was like just drape it. It was a bit like when you get kids trying to make presents for parents at like school, and they've got to wrap the present at the end, and they have to like tie it in a bow, and they can't really do that, so they like just tie a bow and then just tape it to the side of the box. It was a bit like that. Couldn't tie a bow around it, couldn't tie the string around it, just tied a bow and like got some tape and just stuck it on the side. And Meng Ling's like just tied a knot and put it next to the souffle and gone,
that'll do.
That's close enough. So the judging. Now at this point the judges are sitting there and
with their backs to the bakers.
And Meng Ling's the first. Decent height. The edge of hers was a bit dark. They said it was good flavour, but it had been overworked, which made it a bit heavier.
Yeah.
Then Sachin's come out. Now, Sachin was ultra confident. And they said it had a good height and good flavour, but it was full of egg white.
Yeah.
And it was also overcooked. So we managed egg white and overcooking in the same breath. That was an achievement. And poor Sachin, he had to look like, I shouldn't have said that was really good, should I? Yes. Now, at this point, Timothy's goes up. Now, before Timothy's even makes it to the judges, Gadget just, rather than just like doing a normal thing of like looking down the kitchen, pops out from like around the side of Timothy like she's got a spy on the proceedings.
Well, she was also, remember when the her souffle went up and the judges are commenting and you just hear her straining from the very back bench to try and hear what they're saying.
What you know what she was missing?
What?
Go Gadget ears.
Oh.
The big hearing tube. It didn't come. She wanted to hide her identity, obviously, while in the pavilion.
Otherwise, she would have gone Go Gadget whisk and
then the ears would have come out. Yeah, because Gadget never gets what he wants.
No,
Go Gadget copter, and there'd be a water cannon.
Yeah, or roller skates.
The roller skate. Usually the roller skates. So they said that Timothy unfortunately didn't have a rise on his. It was ultra dense. It was dry. Good flavour, but the texture was gummy. Yep. So beyond the gumminess, the dense nature, the dryness, and the fact that it didn't rise, it was wonderful.
Good souffle.
Now, Megan's, they said, had a beautiful texture, great aeration.
Nice flavour.
Superb flavour. And they said, clearly this person knew how to fold the egg whites. And at this point, they cut to Megan at her bench, who was just shaking her head going, nope.
No, I don't.
Nope, no idea. Nope, no idea. I don't know what I was doing. And then Andre... And they said it had a good rise, it had beautiful aeration. It was slightly over, but it was excellent.
Yeah.
So in the judging for this one, interestingly enough tonight, there wasn't much in this episode that was a surprise.
No.
Before they even gave out the order, I wrote the order down.
Yeah.
And it was Timothy 5, Sachin 4, Mengling 3, Andre 2nd, and Megan 1st. And as Megan pointed out, it's a third technical.
Yeah.
She is the queen of the technical.
She's technically good.
She's technically good. I'm going to clarify that one because she's technically good makes it sound like she's not good. She's technically good. Not really. No, we love you. And now,
Yeah.
a walk in the Black Forest. I have no idea how long I've been waiting for that line. So, okay, so we've actually, interestingly enough, we've made a lot of references in the last few episodes, including our interview that we did previously, and go and check it out on James, to the goodies, and in particular, a walk in the Black Forest.
Goody, yum, yum. You know, one of my first crushes ever was Bill Oddie. I know.
Fair enough. Makes sense. He's a twitcher.
He is. We just,
And we've seen through your knowledge of the Red Cardinal that you're a bit of an amateur twitcher. Yeah. Canadian birds only, the ones you can't see here.
He would fit really well into Canada now with, like all those, the legalisation.
Meanwhile, my story of the week.
Yes.
My news story of the week, because well done Canada on the legalisation stuff.
Yes.
But my story of the week was the entrepreneurial spirit that emerged in the young Girl Scout who sold over 100 boxes of cookies outside a dispensary on day one. I salute you, young lady. And I also salute her parents, because they said it taught her about safe use, it taught her about not overindulging, and it also taught her about income and how you make money. And it was brilliant. I loved it. It was a great idea. Well done.
I'm really looking forward to Canadian Bake Off next year, where it's like marijuana week.
By the way, it took 3 hours for the first driving while stoned ticket to be written.
Of course.
So we get to the Black Forest cake. Now, again, a walk in the Black Forest, for those who don't know the episode, if you don't know the episode, it's Radio Goodies. Possibly one of the best episodes of comedic television ever made.
Watch it.
They create their own pirate radio station in a submarine off the coast.
But they only have one record.
And they only have one record, and it's A Walk in the Black Forest. Which leads to some great Tim Brooke Taylor moments where he's sort of his like nerdish self, and then Graham Garden emerging as this leader of a pirate radio station with an eye patch and like an SS style uniform. It is hilarious if you've never seen it before. Listen to Radio Goodies. Boom. So, what I wondered when they mentioned Black Forest cake updated was, had they seen Australian Bake Off?
Yes.
Because Claudia, the winner of the most recent series, made a Black Forest cake. But it wasn't just a normal Black Forest cake.
No.
It was made out of crepe.
It was crepe forest.
So which is interesting is that next week is the crepe cake.
Black Forest crepe.
Next week is the crepe cake. And we did that here.
Mistaken with Black Forest crepe.
Yes, we did that in the most recent series. We did this. And I suggest go and look up Claudia's Black Forest crepe cake. It is amazing. And she had this sort of weird moment where she made this incredible Black Forest crepe cake and had time to temper chocolate trees.
Yes.
Just incredible. So Sachin continued his audition process.
I hope people next week realise you should be using two pans doing this.
Yes, and ask our good friend Robert Harwood about this, who decided to make all of his crepes in one pan. So we'll talk more about that next week. We might even get him on.
Yes.
I might even get him on to relive. Robert, you're coming on to relive the nightmare, my friend. Okay. Now, they said that they wanted all of the elements. They wanted the cake, they wanted the cherries, and more importantly, the kirsch. Now, we suggested at this point, just make a kirsch cake. Or better yet, just serve kirsch.
Just like
with a cherry in it.
A bowl of kirsch. Yes, I would like a single plum floating in
a hat. There you go. Now, Timothy gave us some really good advice. It was good advice at this point in time. So Andre gave us some good advice to his cake, which is good cocoa powder. Sachin gave us some good advice, which was oil makes his cake super moist. Timothy says, in this sort of challenge, your hands must be moving at all times. You need 5 elements on the go at once. Now, the problem for poor Timothy
advice.
was Timothy said this, resting on the bench, doing nothing.
Look, he knew it wasn't his week. He was just saying what he should be doing.
Well, not long after this. Well, not long after this is where Timothy's uttered the phrase, "Timothy's getting drunk."
It's a tipsy Timothy.
He was just into the Kirsch.
It's like he learnt from Devon's lesson last week. Opa.
Meanwhile, back to Gadget. Because everyone's favourite dynamic duo were reunited. I'm starting to think now that Dan is not going anywhere else. They've just got Dan permanently at Meng Ling's bench.
Yeah.
And the reason for this was when Meng Ling announced she was making a chocolate miso cake. And they said to Dan, would you like to try some sweet miso? And so Dan gets the... Oh, God, I'd love to try this. Can I try this? She's like,
he was smart because he just took a little teeny nibble.
And you just see he has a bit of it. And I've never seen a man more confused. And he looks at Meng Ling and goes, this isn't... And she goes, no. It's not really sweet. It's just a bit less salty. And Dan's like, yeah, because I'm thinking this is really salty. And she's like, yeah, it's not as salty as normal miso, though. It's not really sweet. And Dan's like, okay. And
it's like
walks away from the bench.
It's like calling like a light beer non-alcoholic. It's just got some less alcohol in it.
This is a low alcohol vodka. So at this point, Dan then left Meng Ling and her sweet miso and went over to Sachin to point out that Sachin had jinxed himself by saying almost, this is my thing. And Sachin's like, I know, I realise you can't do that. And so he sort of took the jinx back, which worked for him, it turned out. Now, what Sachin decided to make was a Black Forest entremet.
Yes.
And basically covering it in Kirsch.
Good move. Good move,
It was
Sachin.
a great move. And it also helped,
Lakshmi approves.
It also helped the cake to be moist because there was booze all the way through it. And again, we'll get to it later on, but that mirror glaze was a bit special.
Beautiful.
Now, Megan, we love you. But there's always one element you have to try that's a bit weird. And this week it was the decision to use raw cherries. It was a mirror glazed cherry.
But I did like her when she's saying it, trying to judge Bruno's response.
And look, she even openly said, and I'm saying this, and as I'm saying this, I'm looking at your face because I'm trying to read what you think. and I can't quite work it out. And he's like, we'll tell you later. Now, I was concerned about the concept because it had potential to go really badly. And we'll talk about when it came together because the answer of when it came together was about the last 10 seconds.
Yes.
Up to the last 10 seconds,
like it
looked terrific.
The first glaze went on, oh dear, that looks like a hot mess.
And then the second one, you're like, it's lopsided. I don't know what. And then the very end, you're like, holy shit, that looks brilliant.
Yeah.
So... Timothy?
And we didn't even see her doing her sugar work with that great big green stem.
No, we didn't get to see that. I was really pissed off we didn't get to see that, actually. Timothy. Now, Timothy started, we said, drowning his sorrows early. And part of that seemed to be the fact that he decided, fuck a cake. I'm going to make choux. Now, first of all, choux pastry has a choux pastry has a really big habit of failing. Secondly... it'd need to be fucking brilliant because if it's not, you're dead.
Yep.
And then the other problem, and you could see it had a bit of an element of the MasterChef Australia's about it. And what we mean by that is negative plating. So what they like to do in MasterChef Australia is don't actually put everything on the plate.
No.
Leave a gap.
Look, you want to at least get yourself a plate that is 600 times bigger than what you actually need.
And you need to not put your object in the middle.
No.
Oh, no.
Off centre.
Pick a side.
Preferably like 3 centimetres off the edge.
Yep. And then a smear just down the side of it. And then preferably serve your food in dome form.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what Timothy was doing because he was making choux pastry buns, which are technically domes, and he was negative spacing them, and the middle was empty.
But good tempered chocolate.
It was good tempered chocolate. Now, my thing was brave or foolish.
Yeah.
If you got it right, it had the potential to be more impressive and better than a cake, but you needed to do something amazing with it. The other trick to doing something amazing with it is to remember to fill all of your shoe buns.
What I reckon he should have done was just gone, no, that's the lucky shoe. You know, like, you don't have it filled, well, you win yourself a trip to Hawaii. Paid for by yourself.
So then Andre decided as well he was going to do an entremet.
Yes.
And rather than...
I don't think just at that moment he's gone, I'll do an entremet.
To be honest, it's Andre. Who knows? He might have just gone, don't know what I'm going to make yet.
Entremet sounds good.
Entremet? Yeah, might do that. Now, he didn't drown his in Kirsch. What he did instead was make a chocolate and cherry Kirsch mousse. God, it looked amazing.
Yum.
Now, Megan was worried that her cake wasn't rising properly. Looked a bit dense, and that sort of came through in the judging when they talked about it. But... again, that was part of our concern. Like, oh no, don't you stuff that up now. Mengling.
Yes.
Now, if there's one thing I would recommend the Gadget didn't do, it's use acetate.
But that wasn't the issue. The acetate worked well in her case.
Amazingly enough, it was. The problem was that she wasn't aware if she'd actually done all the steps. Like, so she uses acetate and then goes, reads the recipe that she wrote down of her own and goes, I'm just working on if I did everything.
Well, at least Sachin gave her a hand, to...
Came over and helped her out.
Yeah.
And then it became what I referred to as glaze ahoy, and it was just a montage of everybody glazing.
Now, oh God, like, it was just fucking phenomenal. Like, bloody Andre's glaze, that white, that looked so silky. Like, it had that beautiful sheen to it. Like, it did look like... snow to me. Like it just
did
had
look
that
beautiful. And Sachin's
two-tone.
That two-tone was incredible.
That pink.
And you can almost hear him going, wow, when he poured it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I didn't mind that.
No, Megan's glaze.
Mind that Megan's had bubbles in it. It's a cherry. I liked it. I thought it was part of the effect.
Oh, I didn't know there were bubbles in it, but now we've known you can just pop them.
Yeah, you can just pop them with a toothpick. And again, Megan's looked terrifying right up until the very last second, and then there was this moment of, holy shit, that's good. And then they got to Mengling, and they've all gone, Mengling, that looks amazing. And she's like, thank you. And then she paused and went,
side.
Just judge that side, not this side. And it was where Megan's gone, it's rustic. All right, so Andre, they said it was an amazing concept. The glaze was absolutely perfect, and the layers looked amazing. They said the cherry flavour was incredible, and the chocolate mousse was great, but the sponge was a little bit dry, which is probably the harshest criticism we've heard of Andre.
Yeah.
So, Timothy.
Yes.
The first word they used was ambitious. That's never a good sign. They commented the void in the middle was drawing away. And let's face it, if there's one thing that happens when you've got a void, it draws things.
Yes.
Usually into it to go into the black hole.
He was essentially making a shoe pastry hellhole.
He was. And the shoe, unfortunately, was empty for Rochelle, which was really funny because she's like, that's just bad luck.
Yes. Like of all the shoe...
Of all the shoe pastry in all the world, you had to eat that one. Now, they said the filling was lacking in cherry flavour. It had the colour... It was generous, but it was lacking in the flavour. And they also said that the chocolate shoe didn't quite work.
No.
And that was kind of a problem because that was his feature. So he did make a chocolate shoe swan, though, which was an ode to shoe pastry, which is good. Mengling, they said that it was a creative design, and they said that her tempering was underdone, but the cake looked incredible. They then used the phrase dense but moist.
That's what she said.
Probably just a general description there. However... not surprisingly in my eyes, they went, now the miso. There's no marriage between the miso and the cherry.
It's like a messy divorce.
Or the miso and the chocolate.
That's a bad breakup.
In fact, there's no mixture between the miso and the anything.
No.
So the miso seemed to be rather pointless.
Yes.
Sachin, they said the glaze was really pretty.
Yeah.
It had a very clean cut.
Oh my God, that cross section.
The cross section, that mousse had great flavour. It looked so ultra impressive.
At that point, I'm like, oh, I think we have a wiener.
And they commented that Megan's was bold. They said there were a few air bubbles in the glaze, and that's where we got the pop it with a toothpick.
Pop it like it's hot.
And then they said the cake was soft and delicious.
Don't drop your...
No, don't drop it. That would have been the end. That apparently looks like going to happen next week. And they also suggested that maybe she wants to cook the cherries in the future. So look, Megan's learning every week that one element of something that she's done probably needs to be redone every week. But she's going well. So I wrote this down straight away.
Yeah.
We got to the judging. I wrote down Starbaker, Sachin, Home, Timothy.
Yeah.
And look, Timothy did a really good job of trying to hang in there. I like the fact he got bold.
I'm surprised he's lasted this long. Like
it is, and that's not a slight on Timothy. That's just the competition level's been really high.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of weeks where I think other people stuffed up and that saved him a little bit. And poor Timothy, you could see there were a couple of weeks there where he was clinging on for dear life.
Which is good, because I really enjoy Timothy. Like, he's cool.
So our semi-final, our semi-finalists, Andre, Meng Ling, Sachin, and Megan. Woo. So in other words, we have the host of Such in the Kitchen.
Yes.
And we have Gadget, Brain, and Penny.
Oh, Sachin.
So we have Such in the Kitchen there with the three members of Inspector Gadget. This is going to be spectacular.
Sachin's then like Dr. Claw.
He could be.
And like, he's not.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
No, he's his own complete show, isn't he? Like,
it's very hard for Sachin, I think, it's very hard for anyone to threaten Meng Ling.
Yes.
Like, that's the only problem with Meng Ling being Inspector Gadget is it's very hard to threaten Meng Ling because she's so lovable.
I know. And she'd just be like, yeah, you're right, you know?
This is a really good...
Next time you might get me.
It's a really good top four. With Meng Ling, it's either brilliant or what the hell. Often in the same bake. Like the final bake. Like there were elements of that were amazing. And Bruno said that in the judging when they said that she might have been in a little bit of trouble. He's like, there are parts of her bake that are amazing. And then there are other parts that just don't work. And it's like, she can't quite work it out. It's going to be a really competitive semi-final. It is. I saw vol-au-vents. I love a vol-au-vent. I saw vol-au-vents. I saw, unfortunately, somebody's mousse cake melting. And we saw the crepe cake.
Oh, crepe.
I am so looking forward to that
Dr.
next week.
Dr. Rudy thinks it's going to be crepe. Because, you know, like in a South African accent, it sounds like I'm saying crap.
That is the best Botswanan I've ever heard.
Who the hell knows what a South African accent
And on that bombshell, it is time for us to leave you. Please check us out on all the social medias.
Yes.
Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Also, if you go to Teespring and you look us up there, you can find us. You can find a link on our Twitter page as well. You can buy mugs.
Yes.
Like with like our stuff on it. It says the washing up and everything. And it really would help to support the podcast.
Yes, just, you know, throw us some bones to...
Pay for the server.
No,
it's all good. Look, if you do, you do. You don't, you don't. Look,
we can do this anyway.
We do it anyway. So
yeah,
we'd like some support, but if you can't do that, we don't really mind.
Just keep listening.
Keep listening. We really appreciate that. Also, I'm going to cross promote Food Nerd Vanity Project. Go check it out. Myself, Robert Harwood, and Joe Kendry from MasterChef Australia did another episode of David Chang's Ugly Delicious. So go and check that one out. It's really good fun. And you don't have anything to promote apart from your genius.
Yeah, I'm a woman of humble means.
She's just a genius. It's that simple. So until next time, I'm still Chris.
I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all then.
And now, a walk in the Black Forest.